Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me is Aaron William Freeland. See, Candid Frank Live, Aaron William Freeland. I can only have somebody with three names do this show with me. It's the only thing I can do. It's all I'm entitled to. So the good news is, Aaron.
Trade deadline day is over. Thank goodness.
Okay, that's the good news. I was trying to figure out what the good news was, and I guess that's probably as good a choice as any. So, well, let's start with the Habs. St. Louis. Sure. Man, I'm going to need some water.
Well, the first thing to notice here is that after the coaching change, the Habs have done significantly better. I know Martin St. Louis' mentality has actually been part of the impetus for them winning some more games. Now, this is also showing after a tight first period. For example, on Saturday night, the Canadiens actually broke out with 3 second-period goals. So Ottawa's, unfortunately, up against the wall again when it comes to this sort of thing. This is probably a team that they should be able to hang a loss on, but I mean, it was fun hockey to watch until the Habs got their 3 goals, and then it was pretty much all over. Bar the finger wagging. So
the Canucks send Travis Hamonic.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how that's actually supposed to work out for them, because I mean they got Travis Hamonic from the Canucks. For basically a third-round pick in the 2022 draft. So I'm not sure if this was a salary dump on Vancouver's part. I know that he's getting a little bit long in the tooth at 31. He's only had 3 goals and 4 assists in 24 games with Vancouver this season. So from an offensive standpoint, he may technically be underperforming. Yeah, I'm not sure why they picked him up at this point, but I think it's partially because he signed a 2-year, $6 million contract with the Canucks in July. So they may be looking to offload some money.
Yeah, and then they brought in, Dermott. That probably has something to do with it.
I think so. I think they were looking for a comparable defenseman. So they sent Winnipeg's 3rd-round draft pick to the Maple Leafs in exchange for Travis Dermott.
And Travis Dermott comes in much cheaper than the $3 million.
Oh, yes, significantly.
Right. So now Anton Forsberg signs with the Senators. This was a guy that a lot of teams were interested in. They got him at a pretty good rate if he can even up his game a little bit. He's been a little up and down, but he could be a really good goaltender.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely shown flashes of brilliance, and I think for certain portions of the period he has of the season so far, he has been Ottawa's go-to guy. It's not a hefty cap hit. That's the important part here. We're looking at a 3-year extension worth $8.25 million, which is an AAV of 2.75. So as it currently stands, they kind of had to try to get him at a lower price because Matt Murray is still under contract at $6.25 million per. And they're sort of stuck with that, at least for the next 2 seasons. So,
staying with the Senators, they send Nick Paul to the Lightning. They get Matthew Joseph, a good young player, a real tough player for. Well, they're trying to build that third line again. The Bolts have always had a tremendous third line, a high energy line, and Paul fits that description.
Oh, most definitely. He's only got 18 points this season, but he has been known to throw the body around. Part of the deal with that as well is the Senators are retaining 44.5% of Paul's remaining salary for this season.
44.5%.
Yeah, it's a curious number, but I think that Tampa needed that to actually make the trade work.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I mean, they couldn't have rounded it up to 50%.
Maybe that was more than Ottawa felt they should hold on to.
A higher draft
I'm not sure. Possible.
Winnipeg Jets reacquire Mason Appleton from the Seattle Kraken. Of course, he went in the expansion draft.
Now, I had originally heard at the start of the season, don't ask me how, But these rumors get circulated that they did actually intend to bring him back anyways. This
Right.
just seemed like the most opportune time for them to bring Mason Appleton back into the fold. So it only cost them a fourth round draft pick in 2023. It's not like Mason is a high scorer or anything like that, but he is someone who will grind it out and adds a little bit more sandpaper on the back end.
This is a curious trade. The Jets send defenseman Nathan Boileau to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, I was curious about that as well. Now, Andrew Kopp was also part of the deal with Nathan Beaulieu, and they also added another person in there. What they got back was Morgan Barron and a conditional seventh round pick in the 2022 NHL draft. Now, I know that Brian Little was also moved out. He was actually sent to the Arizona Coyotes for a 2022 fourth round pick. It was an interesting move on their part. I'm not 100% sure what the end goal is here, but if Cheveldayoff's history has anything to do with it, it'll probably be shown to be something horrific. But we'll have to see what comes of it.
The Jets Harkins scores twice. They win over the Blackhawks 6-4.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a bright spot for them. Jansen Harkin got 2. Kyle Connor got his 39th goal of the season. Nikolai Ehlers, Josh Morris, and Morrissey, and Blake Wheeler also added goals. So it's good to see that they're getting all sorts of even contribution. Andrew Kopp, now departed, added 3 assists, and this is where their third win in 4 games. So they're within 5 points now of the Western Conference final wildcard spot. It looks like they're definitely making a push for it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know it on trade day, but that's okay. Flames, they beat the Canucks. Revenge for a 7-1 loss at home last week.
This was not a very pretty game to watch. Not in the sense that it was penalty filled, just that it was a tough slog, dude. I tried to stay awake for it, but it was just some rough hockey. But as Kachuk said, look, they got embarrassed losing 7-1 back on February 24th. So this was Calgary's chance to take a little bit out on them and kind of get that back. Highmore and Besser scored for Vancouver. Demko stopped 25 of 29 through 2 periods, but Halak had 14 in the third. This is the first time he's played since February 28th. They actually vastly outshot the Canucks 44-25, but they're 7-4-1 in the second half of back-to-backs this season as well. Not sure how much of that has to do with Sutter being back on the bench and them playing like a playoff team ever since the All-Star break, but it's also putting Sutter's name into the conversation for Jack Adams.
Oilers, Kane, McDavid help Oilers top Devils for the 5th straight time. Straight wins, sorry.
Yeah, Kane had 2. He's looking to be the secondary scoring punch I think that the Oilers have been looking for. So despite all of his personal issues and the baggage that goes along with a player like Evander Kane, he's at least being a solid contributor for this team. So McDavid also, he's doing his thing. He had a goal and 2 assists, and they used a 4-goal third period to top the Devils 6-3.
The Maple Leafs traded Travis Dermott to the Canucks. This is a guy who I'm not sure that another coaching staff would let him go, but this one in particular would. He has never been, and let me underline this, never been one of Keefe's favorite defensemen.
Which I find interesting because when Dermott actually came back to the Marlies in 2018 after the Leafs were eliminated, he was actually one of the key reasons why that team managed to win the Calder Cup that year. So I'm curious as to how he fell out of favor with Keefe so quickly,
And it does, raise an eyebrow because he has, okay, maybe he doesn't have a tremendous shot. That we know he doesn't have a tremendous shot. At least he's never shown us that he has one. But we do know he can skate, and we do know he's not afraid of physical contact. He has a fair size. He's not a small guy, right? it's one of those things. It's curious that when you see any team, there's players that for whatever reason cannot look good wearing that jersey, and then they go somewhere else. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Oh yeah.
The word out of Vancouver right now is that they're going to rely on him uh, to be maybe second pairing offensive threat.
See, I'm finding that curious. I just I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. I'm not sure if the Leafs just wanted to get a draft pick back and felt like moving Dermott out was the best way to try to do that. Um, so it's a little mystifying to me, but I do wish him all the best. In Vancouver, it just
Don't we
for the
all?
number of unforced errors that he had when he played with the Leafs, I think the fan base was getting tired of it, and not only the fan base, I think Sheldon Keefe might have gotten tired with it. So
He doesn't suffer mistakes that easily, does he?
no,
Keefe seems like a guy that he's straight up and down. There is no. He sure doesn't. He sure doesn't appear to have favorites.
yeah, and I'm honestly not really sure what moving out Travis Dermott's cap does for us because his cap hit is only 1.5 million. But
Yeah,
if
so
if
that's
they're
the other
looking to
thing.
well, if they're looking to fit Giordano in under the cap as well as bring Muzzin back for a couple of games as opposed to sending him down to the Marlies for a conditioning stint, this might actually have been the only way that they could potentially have done it.
I agree with you. I think it has more to do with what does 1 + 1 equal? It
Yeah,
equals too much.
exactly.
Um, Speaking of the Leafs, and speaking of the fact that they got Giordano, how do you feel about that move?
Uh, I'm kind of happy about it because Giordano's a Toronto guy, so he'll want to play here, which is good for us. Um, at the same time, he does come with a bit of a cap hit. I do believe that actually Seattle retained.
Half, half.
Yeah, so it's just interesting that we've picked up a couple different teams' captains now. First it was Foligno. This year it's Giordano. I mean, yeah, granted, Seattle's retaining 3.375 million. So his remaining daily cap hit is only 658 grand, but it's one of those. I'm not 100% sure where I see this going because at the end of this season, he's going to be an RFA.
I
Or
think
sorry,
I have an
UFA.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
So
our UFA. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's quite possible he could be the next Spezza.
I mean, if we can keep bringing him back, he's earned 60 million bucks over the course of his entire career. He may just be looking for a nice quiet place to play out the string.
No, I get that. I get that. But there might be this desire to be around in case Toronto,
Ever
catches
breaks
lightning
out.
in the bottle, right?
Hmm.
And
It's
if he
entirely
can be
possible.
and if he can be a part of that, right? Well, we'll put it in an obvious way. Spezza has been playing for the minimum for a couple of years now.
Yep.
3, I think. This is the 3rd year that he's been playing for, you know, um, basically the minimum, and he doesn't seem to regret it.
No, this is one of those everybody jokes about how hard it is to play in Toronto and why would you ever want to come here and they've got so much tied up in their top 4 or 5 guys. But yeah, I mean Spets has been with the Leafs now for
This is
quite a
his
few
3rd year.
years. Yeah.
This is his 3rd year, I think.
And he's been paid 700 grand each year, which is basically league min.
Now, let's put this in perspective, folks, and forget what players earn. I want everybody out there who's watching this right now, to look in the mirror, and I want you to be looking in the mirror. And I'm talking to you now, those of you looking in the mirror. I'm going to give you $700,000 a year to work in your hometown, and you want to work in your hometown. How hard is that? If you think about it in that perspective, how hard is it, Aaron?
It's not hard at all. This is like a no-brainer for me. Like if
It's
the Leafs
and
were to
it's a
come to me and say,
no-brainer
"Hey,
from it's a no-brainer for me, and it's a no-brainer for Spezza because Spezza puts it in perspective. And the other thing Spezza does is he does what he loves to do, right? And the way he plays and the way he, four-letter word here, the way he cares, right? Care. The
Mm.
care he shows, right? Um, for him, he has not been a problem for the Leaf fans. In fact, the Leaf fans have been very happy with him. They could have gone two ways. They can go two ways and go, well, that guy's a useless good for nothing. He's only worth $750,000 a year. Well, we can pick on him. That's cool whenever he screws up. Well, the thing is, he doesn't that often screw up. So, and I think this is one case where the fans, and I think Giordano can be the next case, where they say to themselves, we accept the fact that Toronto pays their top guys a lot of money. And if we're going to go with a guy with no name that we don't know what he's like, and we have suspicions that player is not as good as we need it to be, why not go with an old wily veteran that gives us everything he has, right? And plays an intelligent way. And this is the most important thing I'm going to add. Both these guys, Spets already has proven that he knows how to translate into youth what it means to play professional hockey. I think he deserves a lot of credit on working on the players on the team, making them better. Now, that takes care of the forwards. Wouldn't it be nice to have a defenseman like that?
Oh, it would be fantastic, right?
Right? You see what I'm saying? I mean, it makes so much sense. If Giordano can be here for another 3 years, and even if he slows down to the point where he might be a fifth or sixth defenseman, having him around won't hurt anyway, right? In my opinion, well, it's like having a coach on the ice, right?
Well, I mean, if he signs for league min every single year, you can basically have him operating as a coach without having to hire him as a coach. So this is the whole idea of mentorship and getting players to play the right way. Giordano, I think, fits into the Kyle Dubas mold. We just weren't able to get him sooner than this, based on the fact that he was Calgary's captain, and I don't think they wanted him going to another Canadian team. So after Seattle decided to pick him up, and going into this off season, you knew that they were going to be short on assets. I mean, specifically draft picks. They're not going to be a good team for a while. Vegas coming out the way that they did was a complete flash in the pan. That was a new school sort of expansion team. The Seattle Kraken sort of fall into the old expansion team sort of model where you're going to suck for quite a few years. So you may as well pick up who and what you can, and then trade them for picks and prospects and try to build yourself up in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they're kind of
hope the franchise survives.
they're doing it in reverse of the way Las Vegas did it. Las Vegas got the draft picks before and during their first year.
Well, I think everybody got canny, right? Because all of a sudden Seattle was like, well, if you don't want us to draft this guy, we'll take a first and a third instead. And most teams are like, nah.
Yeah, we tried that. Didn't work. Didn't
Yeah.
like the way that played out. Yeah, no, it was yeah. And the other thing about Giordano is he's a very community conscious player. Yeah, he's a player who has a lot of history, had it in Calgary, one of the most well-known workers in the community in the National Hockey League. In fact, I think he was up for awards for that reason. So this is a guy who's very community oriented, and I don't think he would lose sight of the fact that doing it at home. See, it's not just about playing at home. It's about being that generous community member that he likes to be.
Mm-hmm.
He can be that in his hometown as well, which is something I think that's another draw for him. But most importantly, when you were talking about the Kyle Dubas plan and what he intends, each of the years that Dubas has made trades at the trade deadline, he always has said and has made it clear, and people have repeated it because he said it enough, I'll trade for somebody, but I would like to get somebody with term. Well, this is as close to term that he can get. That's why I raised the issue I did about him coming back for, not many dollars. I mean, in essence, he could end up getting this guy and not give up a first round draft choice and end up with a guy with term because he stays to play. I really don't see that being impossible. I really give it like a 60-40 that he'll be back again next year, no matter what happens this year.
I think you're very potentially right on that. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with the way that the current management treats the players. A lot of these guys, I feel that the team treats them like gold. I mean, for a guy like Spezza, he's now got his own ad campaign with he's not got his own ad campaign with Sonnet Insurance, which I think is
Yeah,
great for him. And guys like Nylander, well, he's only getting 6.9 million a year, but I'm sure he makes up the rest of it in ad revenue. And a lot of these guys, the team is going above and beyond to try to ensure that they can get these guys to come back the following year. So, and good on them for doing that.
Here's another question for you. How many restaurants that Spezza goes into, no matter how expensive, does he leave paying the bill?
Oh, probably none. If they recognize him when he goes in, he's not paying
that
anything.
That ain't happening in some other NHL cities.
But the fact that he said, "Hey, if you pick me up off waivers, I'm just going to retire," endeared him to Toronto fans instantly.
Well, it also gave people a clear indication of what his intent is. This is one time where being in Toronto and being a Toronto fan where you can actually feel good about being that, because this guy makes, Leaf fans, I think, should put everything in perspective and remember that a lot of players would play here for almost nothing, which the league minimum is as close as you can get to nothing, right? That's as close as you're going to get to nothing, is getting paid the league minimum. And he's willing to do it. And I'm sure, and I've said this to you before, and Giordano, that's why this Giordano thing doesn't surprise me. I really do believe, and as I said earlier on this season, that the Leafs need to find a guy on defense that they can do that with. Maybe they did.
They may have found their guy. And I know that Kyle's got a plan for this sort of thing. He normally does. A lot of us don't see it on the surface.
I think this whole play doesn't even need a plan. I mean, there's not many. No. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. There are teams that players say, I'm going there and nowhere else, that they get a bit of a break. That's what happened with, of course, with Miami and picking up the Flyer captain, right? They got him because he wanted to go there, and they got him for very little because there was no negotiating involved. So how much are you going to give me?
It's like, well, we'll give you this much. Perfect.
And he said, okay, I got it. Because this is a shot for me to win a Stanley Cup, because I don't think I'll be doing it in Philly anytime soon. So there it is. That's the sports for us today. Let's talk about, I'll mention this to you. And I don't know what it is, whether subconsciously I've adjusted my head to it, or I don't know. I know it wasn't intentional, but today we went out and I went into 3 different stores. I was in the middle of the store before I realized I didn't have my mask on.
Well, welcome to Mandate Mask-Free Monday.
So I went to the Walmart, greeter. I said, listen, do you have masks? I forgot mine. So, well, you don't have to wear one. Oh
yeah.
Okay. All right. I forgot, or didn't care. I think the didn't care part was, the funny thing is, though, I've done it, forgotten to put the mask on, but usually it's in the parking lot before I get to the front door.
Yeah.
But today, and I'm talking 3 times going out shopping, I did it repeatedly. And I'm in the middle of the store going, I'm not wearing a mask. It's like I'm almost thinking, Aaron, subliminally thinking that people are saying, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I'm not wearing a mask.
Hey, you know what? If not wearing a mask makes you happy, more power to you.
Yeah, it is what it is, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, we only got a minute left. Pick your poison.
Oh, gosh, I get to pick my poison, eh?
Pick your poison.
All right. Let's see. Here's some good news for you. There's a casino out there in Windsor. Here's the good news. Ever since the province decided they were going to open everything up again, there was a question as to whether Caesars could actually open. The good news is that they actually managed to get it done before April 1st. Their previous agreement, which was signed in 2018, was due to expire April 1st. So, just a few short weeks before the contract was due to expire, Unifor Local 444 has managed to work out a deal with Caesars management so that the 2,200 employees at the casino can go back to work.
Go ahead, do another.
That's a shot in the arm for Windsor.
Do another.
I got time for it?
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. The Tory leadership bid is getting a little more confused as well. Ontario Conservative MP Scott Aitchison says he's running for the party's leadership as well. So he's throwing his hat into the ring along with Leslie Lewis, Pierre Poilievre, and Patrick Brown.
I would have preferred if he threw his head into
Hey,
Not bad, not bad. So that was unfair. That wasn't planned, folks. I really did Aaron a bad deal there.
no
I didn't
worries.
tell him he was going to get to do that. Hey, Aaron, thanks a lot, buddy. That was great.
Thanks, Frank.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thanks for watching Candid Frank live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, seen at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network for Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.